Hello everyone, my name is Akiva Yeshurun. I am from Miami, Florida, and am currently studying in Yeshiva in Israel. I would like to thank the Chabura for the opportunity to give a Dvar Torah to this beautiful community that I am so happy to be part of. In last week's Parasha, one of the most infamous events of trickery and deception in Jewish history takes place when Yaakov receives the blessings intended for Esav. As a result of his actions, Yaakov is commanded to leave by Rivka, who, fearing for her son's life, tells him, "Flee at once to Haran, to my brother Lavan." At first glance, the request seems contrary to the classic idea of facing your demons. Was Rivka telling Yaakov that when a challenge is posed, you should just back down, take the easy way out? Was Rivka telling Yaakov that standing up for your values is pushed aside in the face of danger? What was Rivka's real intentions by telling Yaakov to go to Haran? In this week's parasha, we witness Yaakov set out on the classic heroic quest to face malevolence. Up until now, Yaakov was just an ishtam, yoshev ohalim, a scholar, an intellectual, someone who only knew the inside of his tent. How can he be expected to resist the wrath of Esav? So Yaakov is commanded by his parents to leave Beersheba, to find a wife with his relatives in Haran, to distance himself from the brother who wishes to kill him. Radak, Rabbi David Kimchi, comments that at this point, Yaakov is dejected and downtrodden, depressed about leaving his home, his future vague and uncertain. He lacks the vision required to see past the dark time he is in. He reaches Luz, and weary in both mind and body, lays down to sleep. At that point, God appears to Yaakov and tells him exactly what he needs to hear. Yaakov did not know who he was or who he could be. After all, his life up until now was only in the tent. So God tells him, "You are the son of Abraham and Yitzchak." Yaakov's future seemed uncertain and skeptical, with just the mission to find a wife and wait. So God told him, "Your descendants shall be as the dust of the earth, and that all the families of the earth shall bless themselves by you and your descendants." Yaakov was exiled by his parents, pursued by his brother, and was completely alone. So God told him, "Remember, I am with you." This message of hope, this light in the dark, is enough to allow Yaakov to come to terms with his situation and realize that he is not only fleeing from his past, but also creating and forming his future. His newfound inspiration is indicated in the pasuk, "Vayetse Yaakov raglav," Yaakov lifted his feet. And Radak notes the switch, paraphrasing the Midrash, saying, "Kevan shehivtichu ha'el v'hareu hamara gadol hazeh, samach v'nasa ragav bekalut, v'halach sameach v'tov lev." Since God assured him and showed him this great vision, he rejoiced, and his legs carried him with ease, and he went happy and good-heartedly. But inspiration itself is not enough to allow Yaakov to defeat the malevolence awaiting him back home in Eretz Israel. He must learn to live in the house of Lavan, work with him, and get cheated by him, time and time again. In his first encounter with malice by Lavan, when Rachel is switched with Leah, Yaakov is forced to learn the lessons of persistence and hard work to overcome dishonesty and deceit. By being trapped in Lavan's nets of trickery, Yaakov's personality evolves, allowing him to recognize deception in the form of Lavan. This in turn allows him to outwit Lavan while dealing with him in business, when Lavan is constantly changing Yaakov's wages. These occurrences are enough to make Yaakov feel the need to flee once more. Having fulfilled what he came to fulfill after raising his family and providing them with proper support and stability, he now prepared to return home. And that is exactly when Lavan strikes his final blow, chasing after the family, demanding his stolen items to be returned. Lavan, in his malice, strikes once Yaakov has his back turned, on the way out, just when he thought he had escaped unscathed. This final injustice causes Yaakov to burst out in anger, thereby revealing his newly found maturity. No longer was Yaakov the battered and exiled runaway without purpose or aim. No longer was Yaakov the naive and inexperienced scholar who had arrived in Haran 20 years before. He now triumphed over Lavan, having fulfilled every requirement, paid every debt. He exposed Lavan for who he was, and in doing so, identified and stripped bare malevolence itself. Had Yaakov not paid every debt he owed to Lavan? Had he not worked honestly and truthfully for him, working through the toughest conditions, Vayom achalani choriv v'kerap halayla v'tidad v'shnati me'einai. Scorching heat ravaged me by day and frost by night, and sleep fled from my eyes. And had he not done all of this while Lavan tried to trick and deceive him at every turn? Lavan's essence is displayed in his response to Yaakov. The daughters are my daughters, the children are my children, and the flocks are my flocks. All that you see is mine. Yet what can I do now about my daughters or the children they have borne? By playing the victim, he attempts to recover whatever he can scrounge back from Yaakov's piercing truths. Only by experiencing that same feeling himself multiple times from Lavan can Yaakov understand that victimhood does not excuse bad behavior. After having been battered, after having had the excuse to throw up his hands in defeat and claim victimhood, but not having done so, can Yaakov understand that Lavan's claim has no bearing. Only once that is realized can Yaakov make a pact with Lavan's evil, not to cross to you past this mound, and that you are not to cross to me past this mound and this pillar. Having learnt his lesson from Lavan, Yaakov did not intend to stray into the territory of deceit, lies, and falsehood. In next week's Parasha, Yaakov is given a new name, a new identity, Yisrael. The angel tells him on the banks of the river Yabok, Lo Yaakov ya'amer od shimcha, ki im Yisrael, ki sarita im Elohim ve'im anashim v'tuchal. Translated as, your name shall no longer be Yaakov, but Yisrael, for you have striven with beings divine and human, and have prevailed. Onkelos on the Pasuk translates Ki sarita im Elohim ve'im anashim as Arei ravrevat kadam Adonai ve'im guvraya, which translates, for you have been great before God and with man. It is clear from the angel's choice of words that there are two reasons Yaakov is worthy of gaining this new title. One, mastering his relationship with God, and two, perfecting his relationship with man. The combination of these two is what allows Yaakov to be elevated to the status of Yisrael. Now he is ready to face his past. Now he is ready to face malevolence. The journey from Ishtam Yoshev Ohalim to Yisrael ki sarita im Elohim ve'im anashim v'tuchal was the journey from immaturity to maturity, from youth to manhood, from naivete to experience. Only by living in Haran could Yaakov ever hope to face Esav. This is what Rivka wanted to happen. She knew that the only way to allow Yaakov to become a person who can face Esav is by sending him away, by allowing him to experience the realities of life. She knew that in order to face Esav, Yaakov needed to become Yisrael. Every day in our lives, we are faced with the same malevolence as Yaakov, whether it's in the form of external pressures and threats, or internal doubts and fears. The force to lead us into chaos and disaster is ever present, willing to lead us down that path should we choose it. The question we have to ask ourselves is, do we lose hope in the face of that chaos? Or do we choose to follow in the footsteps of Yaakov Avinu and face those demons that challenge us, in order to rise up and live up to the name Yisrael? Shabbat Shalom.